One of the country's best ever swimmers had to come to grips with his life, which had become very challenging for him. And his therapy was to reconstruct himself and win a position in Australia's Commonwealth Games team, taking a gold medal in the process. For more, I'm joined by dual Olympian Geoff Huegill. Geoff, thanks for joining us in the program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now, there is a business reason why you're here, but I'm going to concentrate on all the fun stuff first. What was the high point of your swimming career? High points of
my swimming career. I think, look, when I reflect back on my journey, I've been able to experience some of amazing things. I think ultimately to have an Olympics in your own backyard is something that doesn't happen every single day, and to walk away with a couple of medals is definitely one of my high points. But I think when I look back and I reflect throughout my whole career, you know, coming away from Delhi with 2 golds and a silver, and I only say that because the first half of my career as a young kid, I just went through the motions and I naturally progressed through. And you know, I was quite fortunate. I had a lot of ability, and you know, as I said, was in the right place at the right time. But it's not until I lost everything and I had to come from 50 kilograms behind and, you know, have to be a few years older. It's not until I appreciated that journey of what I went through that to me, I think is the highest point of my career.
Geoff, when you reflect on what you learned and what you used successfully to help get gold at Delhi, and you look back at how you were when you were a young guy with this enormous amount of talent, if the mindset was better, do you think those silvers would have been golds?
That's a tough question, because when I was focused on my game, you know, I threw everything into it. There was no doubt about that, and that was the lead up into it.
And you were always only beaten by the smallest possible, by great swimmers, weren't you?
Exactly right, and it was a 0.01 or a 0.2 or a, you know, or you win races by 0.01 or even 0.2 of a second. So it's a catch-22. I think with what you gain in youth when you're an athlete, you give away experience because you don't have that. So when you get a little bit older and what you actually, whilst you don't have youth on your side, it's that experience when you step up behind the blocks and understanding what's involved, and you know, knowing the emotions that are at play and how to learn to control that and adapt to it. But I think the most important thing as well as a senior athlete is recognising that life does go on. You know, regardless of whether you win, lose or draw, you know, the sun is always going to shine, life is going to go on, and you've got other things to focus on that when I look back at it now, are far more important. But when you're in the cauldron and when you're in the bubble, it's the be-all, end-all.
Yeah. How long did it take you to learn that it's great even to be in a final of an Olympic Games, because you're the best 8 in the world, but of course you always want to win gold, and we, the stupid viewing public, expect you to win, and as probably more crestfallen than you are when you don't win. But that's an important part of this whole game, isn't it? To recognise that you do your best, but someone just might be luckier than you.
Yeah.
Might be just a bit better than you. But dealing with that, was that hard when you were young?
Oh, very hard. Very hard, because when you do grow up, it's the be-all, end-all. So it's your whole focus and your whole, I guess, pinpoint is to focus on that one specific moment, and that's what you train for. I mean, you never go to a competition to want to come second or to come fourth or not swim a personal best time. So to deal with it after sport was probably one of the toughest things, but it really wasn't until I was weighing about 140 kilos and you realise...
You would look good, mate, 140 kilos.
I like to say I was stung by a few bees, you know, so I had a bit of a seafood allergy. But look, in saying that, it wasn't until you get to those sorts of moments that you recognise that there is more to life, you know, and people really don't care. And I think when they look at it, and no discredit to the general public, but not a lot of them recognise the difference between being an Olympian and being a gold medalist at Commonwealth Games and a world champion, because to a lot of people they look at it and just go, well, it's I can't fathom putting my head in the water for 6 hours a day and to reach a certain goal or do it in that way, shape or form. So to represent your country, I think, is the most important thing, one of the most important things, and everything else from there is all bonuses.
That's right. So a part of, like, when you finish and you put the weight on, you probably, I'm surprised you weren't recruited to play for the Wallabies. We needed props in those days. You would have been perfect with 140 kilos. Put that aside. Was part of the depression, was it you lived through in that period, was it that you felt, I didn't get the gold medal at the Olympics and I wanted to. Was that part of it, or was it something else?
Yeah, it was a mixture of that sort of stuff. I think you reflect on it, and you know, when I look back at it, it was part of that sort of stuff, but it wasn't the only thing. I think I went through some pretty tough challenges as a teenager as well. So for me, the sport gave me an opportunity to focus on the sport and not deal with the personal side of it.
The rubbish out of your head, but the rubbish came back eventually, I guess.
Exactly right, and it always does. Yeah. And you know, for me, I lost my father at such a young age, so I had to make that choice. It was either I moved back into the country or I followed my dreams of swimming in the pool. So for me, that was the choice that I made, but not dealing with those emotions at such a young age was something that really came back to haunt me after my swimming career had walked away.
Okay. Well, I said in the introduction, you are the comeback kid, and you might not think yourself as a kid, but compared to me, you are. But we're all proud of what you did. You know, you changed everything, and you got gold as well. It was great. We all wanted to make the Olympics, and so did you. But still, what you did was extraordinary. What made the difference? What helped you reconstruct yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you're staring down the barrel and recognise that you wasted a lot of opportunities in life, it's a pretty good reason to want to turn things around. Yeah. You know,
but plenty of people don't, mate. A lot of people keep going down. What made you go back up?
Yeah, I was quite fortunate to come across a couple of really good people in my life. You know, I think obviously my wife is one of them now. You know, when you recognise that.
You said that, mate. You've been a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a true story, mate.
Yeah, but look, and family is probably the most important thing as well. So, like I said, it wasn't until I pushed everything away, and what I've come to realise is at the end of the day, it's all stuff. You know, the kind of car you drive, or the clothes you wear, or everything else that you have, it's all stuff. So when you lose the most important things that you have in your life, which are your family, you know, that's when you start to recognise and realise that right, well, I need to really start pulling this stuff together. So,
it's appreciating the stuff that really is important, that helped you have the intestinal fortitude to drop all the stuff that was negative and put positives back in your life? Yeah,
absolutely. And I was quite fortunate enough. I met another gentleman who is a former business partner of mine. And look, we sat down together and you know, we put a bit of a map and a plan and a strategy together. I think one of the most important things that not only he taught me, but my family members as well, was to put the value back on my chest. You know, when you do go through hard periods throughout your life, I think we all tend to lose the value that we have on ourselves by some of the poor decisions that we've made, whether it's in a business sense or from a family sense or from a financial sense. And we've all been through tough challenges, and a lot of us are still grappling with a lot of it, whether it's through the GFC or through other poor decisions that we've made. But I think the hardest part is surrounding yourself with the good people that do see the light and do see the value of who you are as an individual, and would never judge that. And the hardest part with being an athlete is because you're so focused on becoming number one in the world, or I was anyway, and breaking the world records and winning the gold medals, learning to deal with the disappointments, it was something that gets really tough as well. So, you know, obviously once you have that snowball effect, it was quite easy for me for life after sport when I blew out and put all the weight on, that the depression really started to set in as well. So learning to deal with that aspect of things and recognise that, you know, that you are human and you're not a super being and all of that sort of stuff, but also having the right people around me to help pull me back up out of the trenches again is an important thing.
If there's someone out there who's feeling like you used to feel, what advice would you give them?
Oh, look, my first bit of advice is, I think the first thing is to have a bit of a plan and a strategy, and surround yourself with like-minded individuals is another thing.
Get rid of the rubbish people.
Exactly right, because we unfortunately we do live in a society where we want to bring everyone down, you know, because we all go through challenges at certain times. But you know, I'm a big advocate of exercising your mood, which is one of the most important things. And for me, it's you know, it's how good you feel after you exercise. Like everyone, I mean, the hardest part to exercise, I believe, is actually getting out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, right? But when you actually realise
that little voice is saying it's too cold out there.
It's too cold, or it's raining, or you haven't got the right shoes, or you know, you don't have this. I mean, you can find an excuse to do anything. You know, there's 1,000 excuses why you shouldn't do something, but I think the most important one is what is your number one excuse, or what is your number one reason to want to do it. And I think once you can nail your purpose and why it is that you're doing the things you do, then like those sorts of mindsets, it's creating good habits. It's so cliche, and it's so you know, I guess you know, positive thinking and that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, I think when you're in that situation and your words and your actions are all that you have, then fundamentally that's where you need to start with everything.
Well, fortunately, mate, you proved it works, and I hope people listening to you that need a bit of a positive stimulation to get it tonight. The Commonwealth Bank was smart. You're working there as an executive, aren't you?
Yeah,
training executive.
That's exactly right. So the Commonwealth Bank has been a sponsor of mine since I think 2009.
Right.
And one of the things that I wanted to make sure for the second time around for Life After Sport was to make sure that I had the right steps in place for that transition, because I don't believe that you can just all of a sudden stop and stop one world and then have to start afresh. So the one thing I made sure in the second part of my career was to make sure that I could balance work and training as well. And look, they've been an amazing support to me. I've been there at the bank for the last 15 months or so now, and look, I really enjoy moving into that business world.
Mate, you were an inspiration in the pool, but you're a bigger inspiration out. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. That was dual Olympian Geoff Huegill, world record holder as well.